Good morning mga katribo. It's Wednesday, the 27th of October, 2023. Welcome to another episode. This is a special episode of Daily Tribune Straight Talk, where we discuss very important matters to each and every one of us. This is Gigi Arcelia. We are live on Daily Tribune's Facebook page and Tribune Now on YouTube. In this morning's episode, we are joined by His Excellency Ilan Fluss, Israel Ambassador to the Philippines.
I'll start with the background on events. October 7, it was a Saturday, as you know, the Sabbath in Israel. It was also a Jewish high holiday, Simchat Torah, the last holiday of the New Year. We celebrate the New Year. It's about 3 weeks of holidays, New Year, Day of Atonement, and then Feast of Tabernacles. And that's the last day of the Feast of Tabernacles. So we were in celebration. There was a big festival on the beach next to Gaza, on the Israeli side, as part of the celebrations. And you know, it's an opportunity for the youth, for everybody. Also, because of the weekend, of course, less traffic there, less people of the military on the border. 6:30 in the morning started the war. Basically, Hamas launched, and I'll not go into too many details because everybody knows, but they launched this horrific attack against Israel, slaughtering Israeli communities, Israeli people. The main target was the civilians. We were able to get the war plans of the Hamas, and it was very clear in their planning that the main target was Israeli civilians, to murder, to kill, and to take hostages to Gaza. They were very well organized, very well prepared. They prepared this for we know probably, we don't have a lot of information, but more than 1 year that they were preparing for that. They had different units or teams who were assigned to different communities. They had the maps, they knew exactly the security arrangements, not only of the communities, also of the military bases at the area. So they had their own very good intelligence. They also developed their own technologies using drones. They came in by land, by sea, by air. More than 1,000 terrorists who entered into Israel, probably closer to 2,000. And each one, they all had their assignments. The results are known. More than 1,400 Israelis murdered. Not all of them have been identified yet because of the horrific atrocities. Their families were burned. Terrible. And the sheer numbers, is very difficult to deal with. If you compare it on the ratio, an understanding, comparing to the size of the population, it is equivalent to more than 20,000 Filipinos who would be murdered in one day. So that's a comparison to understand the magnitude of this event, which is like an earthquake. It's the Israeli September 11. We are now in the stages of funerals. Started already last week and this week. People are mourning the dead. Spirits in Israel is sad, but it's not desperate. It is sad, but it is determination to win this war, because this war is a war initiated by Hamas to destroy the state of Israel. It is a war of survival. It is not just a war to gain more territory. It is a war of survival against an organization who is a terror organization that it's in agenda, and that's the Hamas Charter. The Charter of the Hamas calls for the destruction of the state of Israel, and it says that there is no political agreement. No political agreement can be done with Israel. Israel has to be eliminated, and Israelis and Jews have to be killed. That's the agenda of the Hamas. It has to be an Islamic land. So when people ask me today, what is the political future here? And I said, this is a question that you have to ask the Hamas or the Palestinians, because in Israel we have a government that makes decisions, makes the law, and when we sign a document, we respect it and we can negotiate. We're a political entity. Hamas is not in a negotiating position. It is in a war position to eliminate Israel. Very simple. And you see the history. I'm not going to the long history, but Israel has pulled out of Gaza since 2005. We are not controlling Gaza. We are on the international border. So it's not about occupation. It is about an organization that every few years is initiating again an attack against Israel. National standards of what is humanitarian crisis. There is no humanitarian crisis. There is enough supply. We do say that we want to make sure that the humanitarian assistance which is coming in will not go to the Hamas. We know for fact, for example, last week Hamas raided warehouse of Palestinian, of a humanitarian organization, UNRWA, which is the only organization of the UN dealing with Palestinian refugees. So many refugees around the world. The UN established specific agency for the Palestinian refugees in order to make sure that these refugees stay refugees for life, forever, for eternity. So they established a UN agency. Anyway, the warehouse, they came out with a tweet that the Hamas broke into the warehouse and took medicines and took gas, energy, for the use of Hamas operatives. 2 hours later, this tweet was suddenly disappeared from their Twitter account. Meaning that, but it's too late. It was 2 hours, we have it, we have the footage of it, it was out. But that's clear evidence of what they're doing. We see, for an example, a bunker of the Hamas using sacks donated by, never mind the name of the country. Okay? We see when they attacked Israel, you see equipment of UNICEF being used for the Hamas operatives. So this is what we are seeing, and this is why we are saying now very clearly, the war, the purpose of this war is to make sure there is no Hamas facilities or infrastructure that can attack Israel again. We have learned the lesson. We have been patient for so many years, and we paid now such a heavy price that, to your question, we'll make sure that this doesn't happen again. The footage that we have seen reminds us one thing, and that's the Holocaust. Israel, Jews, the number of Jews murdered to this extent, the last time it happened was in the Holocaust. And the footage reminds us burning bodies, throwing bodies into scattered, into scenery is Holocaust. So this cannot happen again. And this is what we're announcing again and again. This is regarding the Hamas. And we have to remember again, Hamas is part of ISIS. It's part of a bigger religious, Islamic fundamental agenda of making this place an Islamic land, Islamic state. It's in Iraq, it's in Syria, it's the Houthis from Yemen who has fired missiles towards Israel. The US destroyer was able to target them, which was much appreciated. But the closer to us and the immediate threat, the next one is Hezbollah, which has already launched attacks against Israel, including operatives entering into Israel, to the crossing the borderline. They were eliminated, including fires of rockets, of missiles, of accurate ammunition, anti-tank grenades, and things like that.
Excellency.
Yes.
Let me cut you.
Cut me.
So we know everybody that.
Don't cut my throat.
Let me cut you there. So we know that Iran is the funder of everything else. So Hamas is just the symptom. It's not the problem, you know. Iran is the problem. So what's the bigger plan of the US and Israel? Because you're the biggest allies, the strongest allies. What do you plan to do with Iran?
Israel was calling for a long time. But again, we need to make a separation between the war, the immediate threat, which is Hamas, which is Hezbollah, and you saw that there was some bombings that somebody was bombing in Syria to make sure that no supply is coming from Iran. So we have the immediate challenge, which we have to take her now. Iran is not a new challenge, and we have been calling the international community. We were against signing of the JCPOA, of the agreement with Iran. We are calling for a long time to have sanctions put on Iran, because Iran is, number one, financing terrorism and promoting terrorism, is developing nuclear capability, is improving their missile capability, and we know that their target is Israel. But as you see today, the target is not on Israel. Iran is supporting Russia in the war in Ukraine. Iran is promoting terrorism globally because of their fundamentalist philosophy. So Iran is the main problem in the Middle East, and this is why we need the international community. Iran is not only an Israeli issue.
Yes,
It's a global issue. So
Yes.
it's not something for us as a country of 9.5 million people to respond to Iran, to initiate also another war. We have to deal with our immediate borders, but we are calling and putting a lot of pressure on the Iranian issue. We're putting a lot of pressure, and it's not new to us. And now, finally, due to the Iranian involvement in Ukraine, helping Russia, it is much more obvious to our allies, and they're realizing what is the real threat of Iran. What can we do more than that? We can put pressure on the international community, on countries like the Philippines, like other countries, to call upon Iran, to put your own pressure on Iran, and to make sure that Iran is isolated, and hopefully they will change their fundamentalist regime. But that's not to us, not for us to do internal changes and things like that. That's something that, end of the day, look, like in Gaza, the Palestinians voted for Hamas. They make decisions. What happens because of those decisions? Of course, there are ramifications on the reality of the relations, which lead to this suffering now. If you want to change it, call for elections and vote differently. But if you decide that you want to live by a government of a terror organization, it's your decision. We'll fight. We don't fight the people. We'll fight the Hamas. But we can't. There is a limit to how much, as you, as a country, can dictate what to do to other people in other countries. But yes, we are pushing for an international coalition. I can tell you that you can see we had visits in Israel from President Biden, Prime Minister of Italy, Prime Minister of the UK, Chancellor of Germany, dozens of ministers of foreign affairs who came to visit Israel, showing support and solidarity. And this is what we are trying to do. This is the answer. Trying to create solidarity and support for Israel in changing the Middle East and making it a safer place, in putting pressure on Iran, on Lebanon, on Hezbollah, on Syria, on this evil axis, not to continue going in this path, and to, at least at this stage, first of all, not to get into a full-scale war against Israel, and long term, we'll have to deal with the long term after we deal with the immediate.
So what's taking you too long to launch the all-out incursion in Gaza?
I don't know. I'm not part of the military discussions and the war plans. I cannot answer.
Can
What-
we,
Yes.
the statements about Iran, can we quote you on that? About,
Yes?
okay.
Or is it
But
because, sir, they still have more hostages
Yes,
right now?
I said that there are two purposes. That this war has two goals. One is to make sure that there is no more Hamas terrorist infrastructure which can target Israel, no more terror facilities. Secondly, the return of the hostages that have been kidnapped.
But when you wage a war, isn't it that you have to look at the the allies that you have, are they really allies or are they really working for the other side? I'm talking about Biden. Prior to this, he ordered the release of 7 billion in funds. And true enough, as Donald Trump said, there will be trouble after this. After 3 weeks, trouble came. And here comes Biden changing his position from all-out support to Israel. Now he's changing it to partial support. You know.
We got very strong message of solidarity and support from Biden. I said before, also from the UK, also from Italy, also from Germany. Very strong messages. Now, how do you translate it to political regional processes? That's something different. I think at this stage, the most important aspect for us is, number one, this expression of solidarity. Number two, you see the Americans are mobilizing troops. They are not going to fight our war, but we saw already an American destroyer responding, and they're bringing in this aircraft carrier, and all the, so we're seeing a very strong message. Let me just clarify about Iran, and you asked if you can quote me.
Yeah.
And just be careful with what you quote, because I talk in different words.
Yeah.
But basically, what we are doing is sending very strong, I mean, currently now, we're sending strong messages to Iran, to Hezbollah, to Syria, to Lebanon. Don't create more escalation, and don't open new fronts. If you do, of course, we'll enter in a full-scale war also with you. Don't do it, because the price would be heavy, and we'll respond in full force. I remind you that we have recruited 350,000 reservists into the army in order to prepare ourselves for this full-scale war. You have to realize in the north there have been incidents, people have been killed on both sides, and attacks. I mean, these are still individual incidents, but the border with Lebanon, where Hezbollah the area close to the border has been evacuated. We have 120,000 Israelis that have been evacuated from their homes, some of them because the communities were burned down by Hamas and they cannot live there anymore, others because of the immediate threat because of the war, both in the south and now also from the north. The Israeli government is taking care of those 120,000 people, including Filipino caregivers who are amongst them, because some of them are elderly people, of course. So we're ready for full-scale war, but the messaging now is don't, including mainly to Iran. And you see Iran sending, sort of visiting. They visited Lebanon, Syria, Qatar, and different places. So Iran is doing their own messaging here. On the long run, and yes, we're saying all the time that the sanctions have to be, you mustn't lift the sanctions on Iran. To the contrary, we have to have more sanctions on Iran. Look on what they are doing, the intensification of the nuclear program. And they have passed long time ago the red line of the IEA, which is already, I forgot the percentage, but they crossed it long time ago. And they're not paying a price for that. The price what should happen is much more meaningful sanctions on Iran in order to change the policy. The decision of who, I mean, on the region, and we don't have a problem with the Iranian people. As we said, also with the Hamas, the war is not against the Palestinian people, it's against the Hamas as a terror organization. And with Iran, the problem is the regime, which is calling for the destruction of the state of Israel and is not recognizing the right of Israel to exist. And maybe this is something very important for Filipinos to understand. The Philippines as a country, as a nation, is taken for granted that you are here to stay because you are Filipinos. You cannot take Israel for granted. Israel is still being a target, is still not recognized by quite a few countries, and Israel is still there is an ideology and policies of trying to eliminate Israel off the map and to kill any Israeli Jew on the land of Israel. We have been attacked before, not only by Hamas, but it starts from 48, 56, 67, 73. We remember so many centuries of having communities in Israel, but majority big communities outside of Israel that have been persecuted, including the last big persecution, which was the Holocaust, where 1/3 of the Jewish people were murdered. The Jews are not being accepted for centuries. We have to make sure that we not only survive, but that we flourish and we excel. And what we're doing in Israel is not only for us and for our own good, but it's for the international good.
This break is brought to you by Angkas, Beat the Traffic, Bayad Center, hashtag Bigger Better Younger Bayad, and you can buy it all. Conti's Bake Shop and Restaurant, delightfully yours. Globe, atin ang mundo. Meralco, ang liwanag ng bukas. SM, we've got it all for you. Smart, live more today. Union Bank, it starts with you. And Tata Consultancy Services. A wellness show dedicated to empowering viewers with knowledge and inspiration needed to lead a healthy lifestyle. Be Well Now, hosted by Ms. Cory Crino, every Wednesday at 2 p.m. only here at Daily Tribune's Facebook page and Tribune Now in YouTube. Parayan at talakayang showbiz, ×2, doble-doble! Kasama ang dalawa sa walang kupas na talakayan ng showbiz, Alwin Ignacio at Alex Brosas. DTT Show, tuwing Sabado at Linggo, alas 4 ng hapon, dito lang sa Diaryo Tirada ng Daily Tribune. Conversations that are masterclasses from the top honchos of various industries. Learn from their strategies and insights so you yourself can unlock your full potential. Perfect every Friday at 2 p.m. only here in Daily Tribune's Facebook page and Tribune Now in YouTube. Creative minds, entertainment icons, style influencers. We shine the spotlight on remarkable individuals who shape our cultural landscape. Every Tuesday at 2 p.m. only here in Daily Tribune's Facebook page and Tribune Now in YouTube. Straight Talk dives deep into present issues of leadership, politics, business, and more. Engage in insightful conversations with industry shakers, government leaders, and trailblazers every Wednesday at 10 a.m. only here in Daily Tribune's Facebook page and Tribune Now in YouTube.
See how many Nobel Prize winners, Nobel winners are from Israel. You see how many technologies and innovation are coming from Israel, and here you're using mostly Filipinos use Viber, Israeli technology. You use Waze, in your phone, so many Israeli technologies in your phone. Israeli inventions, Israeli innovations, Israeli research is not only contributing for Israel, it's contributing for the world. Israel has decided not to be busy only in war. Israel is developing its economy and its society to improve the standard of living, to make life better, because we believe in a better future. The Palestinians are stuck in the past, in the war, in grievances, in not recognizing Israel, and in fighting, in terrorism. With this, of course, they are stuck where they are, and they are not moving. Then there is no progress, not moving, because basically they're busy fighting. Now, can this be an ideology which will create prosperity, which will create innovation, which will create within the community an atmosphere of peace? No. Look at the curriculum of the Ministry of Education of the Palestinian Authority, and you'll see there incitement, anti-Semitism, no recognition of the State of Israel until today. Now, how can we respond? We're not going to launch a war on every sentence, but we're calling on the European Union to stop financing such propaganda. Okay, so there are a lot of challenges in our region. Again, as I'm saying, currently we are not going into these discussions. This is a background information that you understand the issue.
Yeah.
We are now in a war against a terror organization, and our immediate goals are to eliminate the threat to Israeli citizens. That's the responsibility of the Israeli government. And the other responsibility is to bring back the hostages. After that, we can talk about the future, if we have somebody to talk to. This is not for now. I would also want to add that I said that before. Unfortunately, I mean, in Israel, it's a country of many people, of many nationalities. We're a country of immigrants, and we're also employing in Israel foreign labor. Amongst them, there are Filipino casualties. It's important to say that in Israel, Filipinos are treated exactly the same treatment as Israelis. You live, because most of them are caregivers, they live in our homes amongst our own parents. My father-in-law has a Filipina. He's a Holocaust survivor, 93 years old. Without this Filipina, we wouldn't know, we would feel unsafe to be away from Israel, because he needs somebody with him 24 hours, 7 days a week. The Filipino caregivers are amazing, and they are part of us. I think they also feel the same, and they feel part of Israel. And this is why you see that amongst those 30,000 Filipinos in Israel, very few want to be repatriated back to the Philippines. Very few. I think there were maybe 30 until now. That's it. So most of them basically ended the contracts. Unfortunately, Filipinos have been murdered by Hamas together with the Israeli employers. We have 4 Filipino casualties until now. One was in the festival, happy, celebrating with Israeli friends. The other 3 were with their patients, and they never left them, and they stayed with them to the end, and that's something that we really appreciate very much. It's really the ultimate sacrifice that you can do, is really to stay there in such a horrific situation. There are other 2 that are still unaccounted for. We hope and pray, we don't know. We don't know even who is exactly being taken hostage. They were identity, because they were not visited by any Red Cross, and nobody has seen them. So it's all by using footage which was posted on social media.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Yeah, there was an interview in Thailand. This is about the hostages. The Iranian ambassador to Thailand said that the hostages, they got commitment from Hamas that some of the hostages, Thai hostages, will be released once a ceasefire is
No,
under.
that's the question, Chits, no? Ceasefire. I am about to ask you about your opinion. How could people call for a ceasefire when Hamas is a terrorist organization?
That's exactly. People ask me. So what is the political
Yeah,
solution?
Yeah,
They're calling for ceasefire, and now I'm explaining. A ceasefire can be done between 2 political entities, between 2 states. However, Hamas is a terror organization. Will they agree to a ceasefire? So for me, this question has to be addressed
But Iran
to
is
Hamas.
recognizing the need for a ceasefire.
Now, Iran, as I said, Iran is a supporter of Hamas and Hezbollah. Iran is supporting terrorism. So whatever statements they say, for me, is not important. They're just trying to cause problems and difficulties. Can you say that you are happy that the Filipinos will be out and the Israelis will be left as hostages? It's a war crime if they are Thai, if they are Filipinos, if they're from Sri Lanka, if they're from Nepal, or even if they're Israelis. Even if the Israelis, it's a war. So for the Iranian to say that he cares about the Thai, not about the Israelis, it's shame on him, and shame on people who will be led by listening to the Iranians.
Fine, you're saying my war is with Hamas. But when it comes to striking state infrastructure, like the airport in Syria, are you not inviting the governments themselves of these nations to start waging war against you? Because an airport is a state infrastructure. I know that Israel has never and will never admit to attacking targets in Syria. But, you know, I mean...
So I think that's exactly number one. That's
the question, Mr. Ambassador, is this. No. It is good that you mentioned the history of Israel as a nation. And in 1948, war of independence, no? And also in 1967, the Arab-Israeli wars, no? Yom Kippur War, the Six-Day War. Well, I know that for all Israelis, you are always reminded that in all of these wars, you fought alone. America never sent boots on the ground to fight your war for you. So, what is your prognosis? For me, it's wishful thinking for you to say that this will not escalate. No? Because we are already seeing signs that this is not going to be limited with Hamas or with Hezbollah, with the Houthis. So, what is your prognosis? The real prognosis when it comes to a repeat of the Arab-Israeli conflict.
Okay, that's I mean, let's split it into it's a very complicated question. On the immediate, obviously bombing in Syria, I'm not going to respond to specific incidents, but we as a responsible government, we have a responsibility for our citizens, and we do not want a full-scale war. If there will be full-scale war, our responsibility would be to defend ourselves and our people, and we had wars in the past, and luckily enough we won them. And the reason why we won those wars is because we have to. We have no choice. We're living in a hostile neighborhood which wants to eliminate us, and if we're eliminated, we don't have 7,107 islands. We have one country, small, so we are there to stay, and we'll make sure to stay. Yes, we're in the middle of a war now. We were caught by surprise. We are fighting back now, and we'll secure ourselves again. If in the northern part they will also initiate a war, we will respond in full force. We don't expect anybody else to fight for us. Yes, we're getting help. We are getting help. And there are also different military assets of other countries that are being mobilized, including the US, including the UK. I think the visits, US, UK, also Italy, also Germany, send a very strong message, also to our neighbors, that if they enter into this war, these allies are with us. We don't expect them to have soldiers, but we saw that already an American frigate has already taken care of some missiles that were launched towards Israel. Okay, exactly what it means, this is not for us to discuss here, but we have strong alliances. Hezbollah, one minute. Hezbollah has been arming itself for a long time, and that goes back again to realpolitik and how do you deal with a neighboring country which is hosting a terror organization, which has also a political wing, also military wing. It is a very complicated situation. If the Hezbollah would really start war, Israel has the weaponry, and Israel has the technologies, and Israel will respond with trying to minimize. There will be casualties on both sides, but we will do whatever we can as a government to protect our people. I don't want to say more than that. We have no choice.
Yes.
Where would we go? They want us to go to the sea, but maybe it's important to remember we have peace treaty with Egypt, we have peace treaty with Jordan,
Yes.
we have a full diplomatic relations with the UAE, with Bahrain, with Morocco,
Saudi Arabia.
and Saudi Arabia not yet.
They're about to.
That's why the
It's-
other Arab nations are, criticizing these very countries that you mentioned.
They are
Or-
holding, but you can see that the peace treaties on the diplomatic relations, they have not cancelled, didn't come with any announcements, because they also understand the realpolitik. They understand who are the allies. They know that we are allies. They are also benefiting from these relations on many aspects. They are benefiting, and I think they also realize that that's the better way to, if you want to direct the future of the region, by mutual recognition and working together is the most sensible way than fighting each other and not recognizing each other. So, and you see that these are keeping, although with this tension, and we had also other events in the past. So strategically, this is actually proving to be successful.
Ambassador, is there any updates on the UN Security Council resolution drafted by the United States?
I'm not aware of
Yeah.
any.
What if it is vetoed by Russia?
How do you size up the
We-
UN's response?
Let's put it very clear. We at this stage we are in a war. We don't want any interference coming from the UN.
Purportedly because of the scale of the human casualty.
Yes.
I mean civilian
Yes, but then-
casualties in
Yes,
Gaza.
I agree, but UN is a biased organization against Israel.
on the
That's
record
not
there?
new.
Are you
Of
on
course,
record there?
UN we know that is a biased organization. I'm not talking about humanitarian, specific humanitarian organization. I'm talking about the UN as an organization. You can see that UN has every year at least 20 resolutions every year, which are what we call the anti-Israeli resolutions, that they take full the Palestinian narrative, no recognition of the Israeli narrative. The bias against Israel in the UN is well known, and that's because the Palestinians are part of the Arab world, are part of the Muslim world, and those countries are part of the non-aligned movement, and they have this automatic majority of countries who are supporting the Palestinian initiatives. And I can go into examples. I don't think this is now the time. Security Council is a different story, also part of the UN. Also, we don't want any interference. This stage now, we are in a war against Hamas. Like the war in Afghanistan, I don't want to compare, it's not the same circumstances, but it's the same principle of fighting ISIS, of fighting an organization who have launched a war against you, and we have to defend our citizens. So we will make sure that there is no humanitarian crisis as much as possible, that there are no minimizing casualties there. We are not against humanitarian assistance coming in for the civilians in Gaza. This is up to the UN, to the Egyptians, to make sure that this happens without threatening the safety and security of Israel.
Because you have been talking about the support of such countries like the United States and the UK, maybe you should remind yourselves also what Biden pledges the US Congress they kept.
It's what we have to fight. The US is already supporting us. I'm not going to go into the US politics, and I'm not also comparing between the different wars between Russia and Ukraine. We have a war which was launched against Israel last October 7, and we have to win this war and to protect our people.
Ambassador, in the event that you are successful in eliminating Hamas from Gaza, would you continue the occupation of Gaza?
We're not occupying
No,
Gaza.
they're not occupying it.
We have pulled out of Gaza. We pulled out 7,100 Israeli citizens who were living in the Gaza Strip before. In 2005, they were pulled out, moved from the homes. By the way, when the Palestinians entered into their villages and communities, they, instead of using them as a good facility to be used by them, they burned them down because of hatred, which is, ridiculous. You have good infrastructure to use it. They had greenhouses, they had homes, and all kinds of facilities. They were burned down. We pulled out of Gaza. We are on the international border of Gaza, which that's exactly the answer. When people say it's all about occupation, it's not about occupation, because we are not in Gaza. It's about an organization that has a Hamas charter, which is calling for the Islamic State in Israel, not recognizing the right of State of Israel to exist, and the right of Israelis and Jews to live on the land. This is what we are fighting now.
Talking about charter, I'm just curious, what does your constitution say about war or renouncing war? Because I understand the IDF exists only for the defense of Israel.
Correct?
No aggression whatsoever.
We are,
They are defending.
we are defending ourselves. What do you mean? We are
Because
This
right
war
now
is-
you're making a ground invasion.
Number one, the ground invasion didn't start yet. Number two, there is a very clear goal. The goal is to prevent any future attacks by Hamas against Israeli citizens. It is not a war in order to conquer any new lands. We are out of Gaza. We don't plan to be in Gaza. We are going in because Hamas has forced us to go in. And secondly, Hamas is holding hostages, which includes Israelis and many other nationals.
You told me that there's a de facto blockade of Gaza, insofar as, you know, the basic necessities that are coming in. That had been set up.
I totally disagree.
All right, can you explain?
Gaza is a Palestinian area for a long time. By the way, in the Oslo Agreement, we tried to create a corridor of peace to connect, land connection, like elevated, all kinds of plans, elevated road or safety road between Gaza and the West Bank. Okay, but there were terror attacks. It was not possible to implement. Gaza is a Palestinian territory. Israel is out. We have no responsibility by international law for Gaza. No responsibility. Now, you know that Hamas is now is the government in Gaza, was elected by the Palestinians, which makes it even more complicated because now it's a terror organization controlling this territory, which we're not going to go in. Now, if I take some recommendations, they tell us, you know, go in and full force and whatever. No, we are not going in. What we try to do, and that's exactly the problem, is to have not only humanitarian assistance, but to have projects of development in order to improve the standard of living. We employed in Israel,
In Gaza.
we employed Palestinians from Gaza in Israel. More than 20,000 Palestinians were employed in Israel. They were able to travel from Gaza to the West Bank. They were able to travel for health services. We were initiating and working with the international community in projects of water desalination, of energy, of supplies in order to build better sewage systems and all kinds of systems which will upgrade the standard of living and make life better in Gaza. Also trade, all kinds of things. We invested in the passages to make it easier, quicker, and better, the movement of people and goods between Israel and Gaza. The whole purpose was to help. And what did Hamas do? They took this opportunity and built their own infrastructure and took this civilian humanitarian so-called aid to prepare this terrible attack. And we can see evidence of taking pipes and making them rocket launchers or the missiles themselves. It's very, all this issue of dual use. When you have cement coming in, cement can be used for buildings and construction, but it can be used for construction of the tunnels under Gaza, which are serving the Hamas. And it can be construction of Hamas facilities. And this is exactly what we're doing, and that's why it is so complicated, because we did not want to block Gaza, but we wanted to make sure that Hamas is not building itself. Now, not only us, but now the world has seen what Hamas was doing. The ones that are paying this price are the Palestinians. Heavy price, but it is their decision. They are the ones that have elected Hamas, not us. We respect the elections. We don't respect Hamas, which is trying to kill us. We respect the decision, which is very unfortunate. We hope to see a different decision, which will make us able to live together. But that's, that's for the long term. That's not for now. For now, they're putting pressure on bringing all those trucks of humanitarian assistance, as long as it doesn't serve the Hamas. And it is now responsibility of the UN, which we do not trust, of the donor countries, to make sure that this gets to the civilians and not supplies for Hamas. Very simple.
Yes, sir.
This break is brought to you by Angkas, Beat the Traffic, Bayad Center, hashtag Bigger Better Younger Bayad, and you can buy it all. Conti's Bake Shop and Restaurant, delightfully yours. Globe, atin ang mundo. Meralco, ang liwanag ng bukas. SM, we've got it all for you. Smart, live more today. Union Bank, it starts with you. And Tata Consultancy Services.
A wellness show dedicated to empowering viewers with knowledge and inspiration needed to lead a healthy lifestyle. Be Well Now, hosted by Miss Cory Crino, every Wednesday at 2 p.m. only here at Daily Tribune's Facebook page and Tribune Now in YouTube. Parayan at talakayang showbiz, times 2, doble-doble! Kasama ang dalawa sa walang kupas na talakayan ng showbiz, Alwin Ignacio at Alex Brosas. DTT Show, tuwing Sabado at Linggo, alas 4 ng hapon, dito lang sa Diaryo Tirada ng Daily Tribune. Conversations that are masterclasses from the top honchos of various industries. Learn from their strategies and insights so you yourself can unlock your full potential. Perfect every Friday at 2 p.m. only here on Daily Tribune's Facebook page and Tribune Now in YouTube. Creative minds, entertainment icons, style influencers. We shine the spotlight on remarkable individuals who shape our cultural landscape. Every Tuesday at 2 p.m. only here in Daily Tribune's Facebook page and Tribune Now in YouTube. Straight Talk dives deep into present issues of leadership, politics, business, and more. Engage in insightful conversations with industry shakers, government leaders, and trailblazers every Wednesday at 10 a.m. only here on Daily Tribune's Facebook page and Tribune Now in YouTube.
That Hamas have taken over some UN
Facilities.
facilities and they
Raided
because
them.
even,
Yes.
UNRWA.
UNRWA. The UN refugee.
Used by Hamas.
Yeah.
to attack you.
Yes, exactly.
So
The use,
all of this.
but maybe I want to add one more. People asked us, the media caught very quickly when the Hamas came with the announcement that Israel has bombed the hospital.
Yes.
Yeah. For me, that shows not only bias, but the media, which is irresponsible. Because when it came from Hamas, it was, broadcasted everywhere. Immediately. Israel as a government, we are a responsible government. First of all, we have to investigate and to check what really happened. It took us some hours to do it, went up for confirmation to the top level. And we have evidence. We have footage, we have voice recording of Islamic Jihad speaking to Hamas, telling them that this is their failed launch of rockets. What are they going to do? And Hamas said, we'll say it's the fault of Israel. And we have footage showing that this is failed launch from within Gaza. Until now, at least 550 rockets of Hamas and Islamic Jihad fell in Gaza. Statistically from the past, we know that an average of 1 every 5, like 20% of rockets launched from Gaza fall in Gaza, killing their own people.
The
And that's
Islamic Jihad is more radical.
It's more radical,
than Hamas.
It's another organization, smaller, gets support from Hamas. It's operating there. They have some different ideology, but they're fighting together. They are fighting together now. A little bit of different ideology. Important to say, nobody from the media reported that an Israeli hospital was bombed in Ashkelon called Barzilai, which had so many Israelis injured and killed that were being taken care of in Barzilai hospital, and rockets were shot on the Israeli hospital. No media picked it up and condemned. Nobody. So for me, this incident is a shame on the international media that until now not all of them are coming with fully correction this news, and people sort of still live with this image that it was the Israelis.
Well, we have to understand, Mr. Ambassador, that media tend to romanticize these organizations. And you know, there's a saying that one man's a terrorist is another man's hero.
Hero.
So you know, I
I
completely
just-
understand.
I just hope they're not your heroes. I would say this is number one.
Not mine, definitely.
Number two, as I said before, what is the problem? We do not keep ourselves as victims, Israel. We are insisting on looking to the future to make a better future for our children. So we are developing our economy and society and investing into it a lot. And this is why we are a global hub of innovation. As I said before, there's a reason why we have in our iPhones, in our gadgets, in the hospitals, everywhere you have Israeli technologies. Because we are investing in the future. We don't want to stay victims. Of course, the victims are the underdog, so everybody likes to feel bad for them. But the Palestinians decided to stay this way. Now, I cannot change perceptions. I understand what you're saying, but that's not the truth, and we are struggling to get the truth out to the media. I need to.
Thank you, Ambassador Fluss, for your updates on the ongoing tension in Israel. And thank you, mga katribu. Tune in again next Wednesday for another episode of Straight Talk. Once again, I am Gigi Arcelia. Watch Straight Talk Live every Wednesday at 10 a.m. on Daily Tribune's Facebook page and Tribune Now on YouTube.